Hello everyone, today's June 11th, 2023, and this is another video brought to you by YPAC. So today we're going to be talking about the Trump classified document case, which, this entire thing is much more doomsday and, gloom and doom than what we usually talk about, elections, town halls, primaries. This is much more serious, and we're probably going to make two videos on this, one on the legal aspect, the next on the political side of things. But I just wanted to talk about this legal matter because it's very important, for the future of our elections, for the future of the country. This is purely historic. This has never happened. A former president has never been indicted on the federal level before in United States history. Donald Trump has made history in more than one way, and truly, for the last 7 years, our politics has completely changed. And not just the Republican Party or the GOP, but our political system has changed. I see, a different spirit in the American people than prior. And it's shocking, to say the least. It's terrible that we have someone who does such things. And again, he hasn't been found guilty of anything. Please read the document, and I'll say this over and over, and we're going to go over this document as an intro, but just to put things into context. About 30 to 40, as high as 50% of the Republican Party will support Donald Trump no matter what. He's garnered that base. So as high as 25% of the U.S. population is going to support Donald Trump no matter what. That's around the amount that Donald Trump has got in his base, no matter what. That's the MAGA fan base. That's not going to change, no matter if he shoots someone, no matter if he's found guilty of any of these charges, no matter what. They're going to stay in his camp and vote for him. And, to have that, not even for Donald Trump, for any candidate, there should never be anyone who's 100% willing to vote for them under any circumstances given. Obviously, if they do something horrendous, kill someone, etc., etc., you shouldn't vote for them. And I think that's something that we need to take into consideration. Instead, that 15 to 25% of the population calls everything that is contrary or in opposition to Donald Trump as a hoax or a witch hunt or something else, not simply viewing it as justice or the truth or anything else. So that's concerning, for one, and just Trump's actions as well. You can call it a witch hunt to some degree, maybe. In some ways, the media and the DOJ and different, parts of our justice system is good and as pure as they want to be. Obviously, there has to be some partisanship. And so, sure, in some ways, it can be slightly more, and let me just say this first of all, this is much different than the Biden and the Pence cases. And no one seems to be bringing up Pence. It just seems to be Biden and Hillary. And from what I've seen of the Hillary case, that also seems to be much more different. But just speaking on the Biden case, since that's the one that I know most about, when Biden learned about the documents in both his house and at the UPenn office, he contacted the authorities. He contacted the National Archives, or NARA. He told them about the documents in his possession and told them to pick them up, and he wanted to return them right away. He complied with the authorities. He got them back to where they were supposed to be once he learned of their existence within his possession. Donald Trump did not do that. He not only lied to the authorities, he ignored several subpoenas, and ultimately the FBI had to raid him. And I talked about this 4 months ago in that last video we made about all the criminal charges against Donald Trump. And now these are really coming into fruition because, the special counsels in the different courts and indictments are all coming out, and they're going to pile up. More and more are going to come in. And many legal experts have said that this is the most serious one, because we see that it's Donald Trump's word against his word, which is what I'm going to be talking about in the document. So, let me just start this off by saying, please read this document. I'm going to link it down below. Please read this. You can probably access it from any site. Just please read this. If you are going to have an opinion on it, whether pro or against, or whatever it may be, just read it, because it's so important, and it's going to be a part of American history. If you're voting in the next election, you should read this. It's so insanely important. Just as some background info, so obviously, the indictment against Donald Trump was unsealed on June 8th, 2023. Obviously, it's the first federal indictment of a former president, and there are 37 counts, 31 of which are charged under the Espionage Act. So the classified documents stored in Trump's boxes around Mar-a-Lago included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities in both the and foreign countries, U.S. nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the U.S. and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the U.S. military, and human sources, and continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. So that's what's at stake here, right? All of that. And this isn't some recorded conversation between a politician and his staff about some offhanded comment or something. This is actual military plans that have been discussed not only by Trump and his employees and his valet, is it Walt Nauta, but also with other people. So on 2 occasions, Donald Trump showed classified documents to other people. The first one was in July of 2021 at his Bedminster Golf Club. It was described in the indictment and audio recordings, which broke last week, about how Trump tried to show documents to members of his staff, people who are writing a book, none of whom possess security clearance, according to the indictment. He described it as, quote, a plan of attack. And the second incident was in August of 2021 as well, also at Bedminster. And the former president showed a representative of his Political Action Committee, or PAC, who also does not have security clearance, a classified map related to a military operation. So that's what he's showing these people, who do not possess security access. And let me just zoom through this. So this is obviously a lot of just, history. Just read this background, but what I want to go to is on page 9, I think it is. So, talking about the Hillary thing, and or maybe even before that. So when we're looking at this, this is kind of the stuff that I was just talking about, is how he basically said, if you see this, yeah, these are the 2 accounts, right? He said, highly confidential, a secret. As president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but it's still a secret. So he knows it's a secret. He knows he could have declassified it, and now he can't. He said, this is his word against his. Like I said earlier, in many speeches, he has said, I declassified them. I have the authority to declassify them. Now we've recorded him saying, I could have declassified it, and now I can't. And he says it's a secret. And yet he's showing members of his staff. And I think my favorite quote during this entire thing was on page 27, I think it was. We'll go to that later. But again, showed a member of his team and told him that he shouldn't get too close. But he's still showing it. But just that the representative shouldn't get too close. Yes. And also, this is just so... talking about red-handed. This is the most obvious thing you can find, and so I don't know how any person can go unscathed throughout this process if there's this much evidence against them. And of course, if there's anyone that's going to get through this without a mark on them, it's going to be Donald Trump. Brian Stevenson commonly says, our judicial system in the United States treats you better if you're guilty and rich than if you're innocent and poor. And, we'll see what happens with this case. And then, again, here, we have Donald Trump returns 15 boxes, lies to the authorities that he returned all of them. Then his team returns another 38. They say it's done. But then the FBI come, raid for 102 more. And last summer, all we were hearing about was from Fox News, and everyone else was, oh, the FBI is raiding our president, defund the FBI, and, just, they're such a biased institution. No, they're not. They want the property of the federal government back. That's what they want. This is not some witch hunt. This is not some hoax. The former president lied about giving all the documents. He didn't return all of them, 15, 38, and then 102 afterwards, and still had more. This is what's going on. And it's just so redundant. And how else could you, prove this than just looking at these numbers? This is so plainly obvious. And he hid them everywhere. Ballroom, spa, etc., is everywhere, all over the place. And they had all sorts of these, both top secret, confidential, and secret. Those were all the markings on the documents. Look at this. This is Trump's ballroom. He just has the documents stacked here. And Mar-a-Lago isn't just his private home. There are several events held there. It's a kind of like club scene. It's very social. And so anyone who's a guest over at his house one evening for dinner or a party or anything can just see these documents lying around that have our military plans in there. I think there's also like a plan for how to attack Iran in there. And so there's all this information, just some light reading. So this is just a conversation between two employees, and what I found interesting is that Donald Trump doesn't usually record himself in this manner for like things like this to be available for the general public. He doesn't really text or email or record anything, but luckily for the DOJ, people around him do. His employees do. His lawyers do. Everyone else does record things and take them down and send texts and emails pretty frequently. So even if he's not directly doing these things, or, putting these things down in a tangible way, other people are. And then this is bathroom. So, along the shower, you have the sink here, and just some light reading. If you're ever over at Mar-a-Lago, need to use a little boys' room, and you've got something to read while you're in there. Keep you entertained. This is... and then more and more and more. It's kind of hard to see now that, the pages are like this. But let me just go back to what I wanted to talk about earlier. So, people are talking a lot about the Hillary case now with her emails on her computer. And from what I know of it, it's a completely separate case to this. But that's, first of all, in the past. If you're going to have the DOJ prosecute them now, sure, do that. Start your investigation. That's the first step to, getting an indictment, is getting your information, then showing it to a grand jury, seeing if they vote on it or not, and then to issue your indictment and then further go on with the case. But if anyone wants to do that, they can go ahead with that. That's what they did with Trump. And majority, 12 people on the grand jury said that he was not guilty, but said that the evidence made sense, and that's why the indictment was issued. So if someone wants to do that with Hillary, they can go ahead and do that. But we're talking about Trump now. And Trump is a much greater threat because he's going to be running for public office. So we should know if he's guilty or innocent of the crimes that he's being accused of. Not Hillary. Hillary is... who knows where, okay? There's nothing to do with this. And, if you're going to talk about Hillary, use Trump's own words. In mine, and this is all from after when Hillary's, debacle with the emails came out. In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law. This is all 2016, obviously. We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence, then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified. What more needs to be said than just these words here? Never mind all my commentary, but what more needs to be said than Donald Trump's own words? We can't have someone in the Oval Office. Really, I agree with Donald Trump here. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't, know the laws and who doesn't understand the meaning of these words, and who shows classified documents and classified information to other people. I completely agree. So he must be out of the race by his own words and its own definitions. So that's another thing. If you're going to bring up Donald Trump, well, he, by these standards, finds himself legal to the same things as Hillary does. So, but this is probably my favorite quote of Donald Trump. This is secret information. Look at this. Yeah, this is where the laugh track comes in. This is when, all those gifts and stuff come in. This is secret information. Look at this. Donald Trump, I'm sure that when you say secret information, maybe people shouldn't be looking at this. Just food for thought. Just thinking out loud here. Maybe that shouldn't be the case. And it doesn't... This is just so self-contradictory. This is ironic, this sentence. It should be studied by experts of literature. This is gold. This is comedic gold, honestly. It's so interesting that even after there's this much evidence, so many Trump supporters aren't going to either read this or look at this or just think that's a hoax, think that everything that's written down on the sheet of paper is a lie, maybe what he told you in that response video is a lie. Just saying. When he says, I'm an innocent man, well, first of all, that's not for you to decide, or me to decide, or anyone in the comments to decide. It's for a grand jury and judge to decide, and for lawyers to debate. That's what that's for. Our political, or judicial process, sorry, that's what that's for. And so, him saying he's innocent, well, again, not that I'm a legal expert or anything, but looking at this document, it doesn't seem like you're all that innocent, Mr. President. The amount of classified information that was in his home and that he just had lying around and showed other people and just exposed our military secrets, like so many men and women in, like, serve in the military, Navy, Army, Marines, give up their lives to defend our nation, and then some elected official goes and shows the secrets of where they might be hiding or the U.S.'s weaknesses or anything else to these other people. It's only to have their lives be put more at stake. It's truly selfish and honestly terrible. And so going further along, these are the number that were top secret, confidential. Not that interesting. Now we go into the counts. There's one more thing that I want to look at, I think. But never mind that. These are the rest of the counts. Just the legal signatures back there. But going back to the front page, there's one more thing I want to talk about, is that U.S. law doesn't bar any candidate running for office because of criminal charges purely. The example commonly referred to this, like, throughout this whole case and everything, is Eugene Debs. He's a socialist candidate for president back around 1920 or so, and he ran his presidential campaign, which I found this, like, very interesting. He ran his presidential campaign from a jail cell, and he was actually arrested under the same act that Donald Trump is being charged under, the Espionage Act. So he didn't win. He didn't have nearly enough support, but he got arrested under the Espionage Act, and Donald Trump may have the same fate. And what's he going to do then? He said that he's going to remain in the race as long as humanly possible, and so that's what he's going to do. And probably he may run his campaign from a prison cell. This evidence is some of the clearest I've ever seen. Okay? Other than the Brad Raffensperger recording, obviously that's also very clear, but that a former president was just going flaunting around this evidence. He said, this is secret. Come, look at this. Goes around not only his home and shows people, but also the Bedminster Golf Club in New Jersey, shows people around there, and he was just, like, flying these documents around, wasn't he? From Florida and New Jersey, everywhere, showing these documents to everyone who would take a look at them. And I'm sure the president wasn't meaning to put our brave men and women in further harm's way. I'm sure that wasn't his intention, because no matter what people may say about him, I'm sure he does love America in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure he wasn't trying to put anyone in harm's way, but he did in some fashion. Maybe he was just attention-seeking. I don't know. That's something that other political people further brought. But from what we've seen here, and again, read the document. Please, read the document. I feel so redundant in saying this. Please, read this document. It's so important in this, like, in understanding this case and understanding what's going on in politics right now in America. And just further than that, just not even for your own understanding of, like, the political process and the judicial process, but about these characters who are playing some of the most important roles in history in understanding what's going on with them. Donald Trump, again, has taken the U.S. by storm over the last 7 years. Now, it seems like there's going to be consequences for the actions he's taken. Now, we don't know thus far. The only step that we've reached thus far is 2 indictments. There are probably going to be several others, but then are we going to move forward with those into a court case? Is he going to be found guilty? If so, what happens? 2 members of Trump's legal team actually quit a while ago, because after news of this case broke up, because it was just, like, seemed way too hard to handle, which I would definitely understand. And this is all certainly very interesting. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.